Every character in a story or novel needs what's called a backstory. But there's a right way to do this and a wrong way to do this, and I'm going to explain the difference. Welcome to the series How to Be a Better Writer, where I take you through the A to Z of everything you need to know to make your writing great. Today's topic is backstory. The backstory is essentially everything that happens to your character before the story starts. Every writer needs to know their character's backstories, especially the main character, because this informs who they are, what they want, and the reason behind their actions. It also makes your story much more believable when you have a character with a clearly defined past. The backstory is such an important part of the writing process, but it's surprisingly easy to get wrong. So here are 4 mistakes you might be making with your character's backstory, followed by one simple rule you need to follow to guarantee that you're doing this right. Mistake number 1, you don't bother to figure out the backstory before you start writing. Sometimes writers can get away with this, especially if what you're writing is a short story, but I guarantee it will save you a lot of time and energy if you just do that backstory first. Mistake number 2, you've made their backstory more complex than the actual story. This means one of 2 things. 1, you just got lost in unimportant details. For example, we probably don't need to know the flavor of ice cream they ate at their 5th birthday party. Or 2, the backstory is actually so interesting that it should probably be the story. Mistake number 3, you include too much backstory in the story itself. The backstory is something that's more for you to know than the readers. You need to be able to tell your story in such a way that it doesn't feel like your readers need a history lesson to understand it. If there are relevant details to the backstory that your readers need to know, make sure that these come up organically and sparingly. And mistake number 4, you've made the backstory too cliché. When something is cliché, it means that it's overdone and it can come across as lazy and unimaginative. So if your character's backstory sounds like the backstory of many other characters from fiction, ask yourself what you can change about it to make it more unique. And sometimes we do lean on cliches in our backstory, but you've just got to make sure there's a reason for it. So, as promised, here is one simple guideline to follow, and you can't go wrong with your character's backstory. The simple guideline is keep it relevant. For instance, if your story is a romance, then you need to know your character's backstory as it relates to love. First crush, first kiss, early relationships, things like that. If instead your story is about, say, your main character discovering their true power, then you need to know details from their backstory that relate to their personal power. Times they felt powerful, times they felt powerless, and what led to their current beliefs about how powerful or not powerful they are. You might also want to throw in some character building details that aren't necessarily 100% relevant, but do not get stuck on these. They are more for adding color and texture to your story, and they're not necessarily an important aspect of the story themselves. The guideline of keep it relevant also applies to which aspects of your character's backstory you choose to share with your readers. So make sure you're only telling us what's relevant to your story, otherwise your story will risk feeling like an info dump. So there you go, backstory in a nutshell. Let me know if that's helpful and if there's anything else you'd like to know about this topic. Thanks for stopping by and see you next time.